On the day of college graduation. After recklessly confessing my feelings to the person I'd secretly loved for 4 years, I quietly vanished from his world. 3 years later, our reunion came when my father brought him to our home to select a marriage candidate. "Let's go with him," Evan drawled, his lazy gaze settling on me sitting in the wheelchair. By all rights, my father should have been groveling to offer candidates given our family's desperate situation. Yet against all expectations, Wilson Group had surprisingly accepted my father's shameless suggestion of perhaps you'd like to personally visit and choose. This snowy morning found my stepbrother Liam obsessively coordinating outfits in his walk-in closet, while my stepsister Emily labored over her makeup in her private vanity room. Leaning against the windowsill in my wheelchair, I watched snowflakes drift until their hurried footsteps passed me, both shooting identical looks of thinly veiled irritation at the inconvenient cripple cluttering their path. The Peters family's fortunes had been crumbling for half a year. Despite my father's frantic efforts, our business kept teetering closer to collapse until we finally connected with Wilson Group through intermediaries. The alliance meant little. We had nothing they needed, no blood ties to exploit. In desperation, my father floated the marriage proposal as last resort, never imagining they'd entertain it. "I wonder which of us the Wilson heir will fancy," I overheard my father muse during a phone call. "Or if you'd honor us with a visit to meet the candidates over humble family dinner." Empty courtesies? Really? Everyone knew this alliance meant handing over a plaything, not forging real kinship. Yet shockingly, Evan accepted. "Bro," Emily called after finishing her makeup, "he might not even swing that way." She smirked at Liam still fussing with shirts in his closet. "Who's fussing?" Liam shot back without heat, holding a silk shirt to his chest. Their synchronized eye rolls landed on me. "You should stay in your room later," Emily said. I turned from the window. "All right." The muffled commotion downstairs announced the Wilsons' arrival. Soon after, housekeeper Aunt Jiang slipped into my room with strawberries. She'd stayed after my mother's death when she could have left. "Thank you." I bit into a berry. "Are they all here?" Aunt Jiang nodded grimly. "That Wilson boy's trouble. Barely spoke 2 words. Face like thunder. Better you're up here." Before I could respond, Emily flung open the door. "Father wants you downstairs." Me. The strawberry turned sour in my mouth. She left without another word, heels clicking sharply down the hall. Mrs. Jiang and I exchanged bewildered glances before I wiped my hands and allowed her to wheel me toward the living room. Before we even reached it, my father's apologetic voice carried down the hallway. "We're deeply sorry for this oversight," I heard him say with uncharacteristic humility. "Our younger son's mobility challenges made us reluctant to disrupt your evening. We meant no disrespect." As we entered, my breath caught. Seated in the armchair was Evan, his brow slightly furrowed as our eyes met. 3 years vanished in that heartbeat. 3 years since graduation day, since I'd last seen those familiar features. My pulse raced erratically, throat tightening as Dad hurried over to take my wheelchair. "Ethan, come greet Mr. Wilson properly." The wheelchair creaked faintly as Dad positioned me near the coffee table. Evan's gaze remained impassive, his posture relaxed against the leather sofa. "Him," he declared suddenly, chin lifting fractionally toward me. Silence swallowed the room. 2 excruciating minutes crawled by before Dad managed. "You mean Ethan?" A single nod. Evan's expression could have frozen hell itself, that detached coolness carving deeper than any anger. "He comes with me now." Before I could protest or even bid Mrs. Jiang farewell, Evan's assistant was already steering me toward the waiting town car. My sole possession, the chipped wheelchair, clattered into the trunk as winter's first proper snowfall dusted our departure. Evan didn't speak during the drive, eyes closed as if napping. Through the tinted windows, snowflakes swirled like confused fireflies. I wondered morbidly if this abrupt selection stemmed from some obscure billionaire whim, charity case, social experiment. The Wilson estate swallowed us whole, its vaulted ceilings echoing our arrival. An assistant deposited me in the second-floor guest suite before disappearing. "Rest," Evan instructed tersely, already turning toward the staircase. "Dinner will be brought up." True to his word, staff delivered meals with polite efficiency. Night found me channel surfing when Evan reappeared. "Time to wash up," he announced without preamble, hands settling on my wheelchair handles. "Wait, I can manage myself," I protested as he pushed toward the bathroom. "Just need fresh clothes." He halted abruptly, kneeling to meet my eye level. Long fingers moved to unbutton my shirt. No. Really, I grabbed his wrist, heat flooding my cheeks. This isn't necessary. For the first time all day, Evan held my gaze. Why not? The question hung between us, weighted with 3 years of unspoken history. I feel awkward. Might trouble you. I don't mind. But it's still a bit what? Evan's obsidian eyes locked onto mine with stubborn intensity, demanding a concrete answer. I hesitated before finishing lamely. It's not very convenient. The man before me fell silent for an extended moment. Those dark irises seemed to pierce through my soul as we maintained our silent standoff. Finally he spoke. I don't understand. Ethan. 3 years ago, on my college graduation day, a boy ran up crying, kissed me, then disappeared. I've never found him since. I never understood what he meant. For 3 years I've wondered, was that love? Or just some graduation prank? His gaze never wavered. Can you tell me? The question caught me off guard, as did the revelation that he'd always known it was me. Though we'd been in different departments during college, maintaining little more than nodding acquaintance. I'd waited in shadowed elms that graduation night, reckless with heartache, to steal that kiss. Less a confession than ceremonial closure for 4 years of silent yearning. I still remember the ashen sky swallowing the wan moon, trembling leaves painting patterns under dim streetlights. How final it had felt. That bittersweet conviction we'd never meet again. Yet fate's tangled threads brought us here. You should ask him directly. I kept my tone neutral after stunned hesitation. I can't presume others' feelings. Evan appeared unprepared for this response, momentary hurt flickering through his eyes before he recovered. You're right. I shouldn't burden you with this. His fingers resumed unbuttoning my shirt. Really? Don't. I tried pushing his hands away, but he intercepted effortlessly. I brought you home. His breath warmed my collarbone. Helping you bathe is only proper. My hands froze midair as he swiftly stripped off my shirt. Before I could react, he'd lifted me slightly to slide my pants down. The bathroom's silence magnified every rustle. Instinctively curling forward to cover myself, I found Evan's gaze transfixed on the twin grotesque scars marring my thighs. Kneeling before me, he traced the raised tissue with feather-light fingertips, as if touching shattered porcelain. The long-healed, his touch resurrected phantom vulnerability. Oh. His whisper held liquid tenderness. Accident. I stared at fogged tiles. When? A year ago. His thumb stilled. A year? Mitchum. Evan's throat worked soundlessly before he murmured. You've suffered. The unexpected compassion made me turn despite myself. Since the accident, aside from Aunt Jiang, no one had spoken to me this way. I stared blankly at Evan, remaining silent until he reached up to gently wipe the corner of my eye. Then, to my astonishment, he leaned closer and pressed a kiss to my forehead. The bathroom soon filled with the sound of running water. Warm droplets cascaded over my body, merging with the heat from Evan's palm as it traveled through me like liquid warmth. After bathing, he carried me back to the bedroom, his bedroom. When he finished his own preparations, he climbed into bed beside me. During my secret crush years, though fully aware of our impossibility, I'd occasionally dreamt of sharing a bed with him. Yet dreams remained fragments, pale imitations that could never capture the living warmth of Evan. Now lying beside his actual form after 3 years, that familiar flutter in my chest refused to settle. We'll see a doctor tomorrow? He murmured, shifting closer to intertwine our fingers. I tried pulling away but found myself trapped in his gentle grip. What kind of doctor? A specialist I brought from Germany. We'll explore treatment options for your legs. My breath caught. For over a year in this wheelchair, I'd ached to stand again, only to have hope crushed repeatedly. Don't be afraid. His hand tightened around mine with solemn intensity. I won't let you down. Turning, I found his gaze locked on me with fierce concentration. Morning revealed a sleek new wheelchair beside the bed, clearly custom-made and exorbitantly priced. Evan offered no explanation as he settled me into the ergonomic seat, its smooth motion a stark contrast to the second-hand clunker my father had provided. At the hospital, German murmurs swirled around the consultation room. As minutes ticked by, the doctor's grave expressions eroded my fragile hope. It's okay. Evan's hand found mine again, warm and steady. I promised, didn't I? When the lead physician finally rasped possibly in broken Chinese, the word reverberated through me like thunder. Treatment would begin after Lunar New Year, 2 months of waiting. Come to the office with me, Evan proposed one morning mid-dress shirt, pausing with one sleeve dangling. I shouldn't. His jaw tightened at my refusal. Call me if anything happens, he finally said. That familiar broad back retreating as he finished dressing, a scene straight from old dreams. The following week passed quietly. The household staff treated me with polite detachment, consulting me on every meal. Before I knew it, winter solstice arrived. The snow had started falling before dawn. By afternoon, I found myself flipping through a book at home when Evan's call came through. Busy? Not really. Could you pick out a suit from the walk-in and bring it over? I set my book down immediately. Sure. Any particular style? Anything formal works. I'll have the driver come get you. After hanging up, I spent considerable time selecting an outfit before asking the housekeeper to retrieve a charcoal gray 3-piece suit. Snow blanketed the roadside evergreens during the drive to Wilson Group headquarters. Upon arrival, I called Evan. Should I have your assistant come down for this? Just come up, he replied brusquely, hanging up before I could respond. The driver wheeled me through the lobby elevator. I was mentally rehearsing my explanation to the receptionist when the doors opened to reveal Evan waiting by the elevators. He smoothly took control of my wheelchair from the driver, guiding me past rows of cubicles. Having only worked at small design studios after college, I'd never set foot in such a corporate giant. Contrary to expecting sterile formality, the open office buzzed with holiday cheer. Winter solstice lunch, Evan explained, nodding toward employees ladling dumplings and clam chowder in the cafeteria. You'll join us? I hesitated. I shouldn't cause, chef's famous for his New England clam chowder, he overruled, parking me in his corner office until the lunch rush. The cafeteria erupted in greetings when we entered. Mr. Wilson, called a sandy-haired employee who'd clearly been the class clown. We've been dying to ask who's your mystery guest? Evan's voice carried warm amusement from behind me. Someone I'm courting. Gasps ricocheted through the room as I twisted to look up at him. His gaze held tender certainty. Well, I'll be damned. A familiar voice cut through the commotion. Connor materialized at my side. Then, never thought I'd see you here. Connor. I didn't realize you worked here. The sandy-haired man chuckled. Oh, I knew we'd cross paths again. Before I could question this, he commandeered my wheelchair. You're with me. Chowder or dumplings? Can't believe Evan didn't tell me he'd found you. His chatter about being foundlingered in my mind throughout lunch. It wasn't until Evan drove us home that evening that I noticed his unchanged clothes. Why didn't you change? I asked as the driver disappeared into the garage. Evan turned the key, silencing the engine. The suit was just an excuse. I wanted you at the office. His unflinching honesty hung between us in the sudden quiet. Evan looked at me for a moment before answering. Ethan, what I said at the restaurant, I meant it. What? That you're someone I'm pursuing. I meant every word. Boom. The moment he spoke, I felt like millions of bubbles exploded simultaneously in my chest. You refused to acknowledge that night was you. He continued quietly. Maybe because you don't like me anymore. Or perhaps, other reasons. It doesn't matter. Starting now, I'll be the one pursuing you. Just please, don't deny me this chance. The car fell into prolonged silence. During college, Evan had been the campus heartthrob. His name flooded confession boards while his photo permanently occupied honor rolls. Brilliant, handsome, impeccably mannered, his aloof demeanor only fueled more admirers, with confession queues stretching from campus gates to downtown. Never had I imagined hearing these words from him. Especially now, when I'd become a wheelchair-bound wreck. I turned my face away, throat tightening. New Year's approached swiftly. His company closed early for holidays, leaving us housebound through Little New Year. On Laba Festival, Connor called suggesting drinks downtown. Bring Ethan along. Connor insisted when Evan hesitated. We planned this assuming you'd bring him. No fun staying cooped up forever. After hanging up, Evan tentatively asked if I wanted to go. Needing answers from Connor myself, I agreed. The private lounge already buzzed with strangers when we arrived. Apart from Connor, I recognized no one, though all greeted me warmly. Birds of a feather flocked together. Evan's friends mirrored his courtesy, treating me with genuine kindness. During casual chatter, One friend pulled Evan aside for pool. Go ahead, I urged when he hesitated. I'll snack here. Waiting several minutes after his departure, I wheeled toward Connor. Got a moment? Always. His trademark grin widened, as if expecting this. Need something? I nodded. That day, why did you say those things? Which things? About knowing we'd meet again. And Evan looking for me. Connor sipped his whiskey before answering. Can't say much. You should get those answers from Evan himself. But know this. He leaned closer. He's been searching for you these past 3 years. Searching? My breath hitched. What? He chuckled. Told you, that's his story to tell. His gaze drifted toward the pool tables where Evan leaned over emerald felt. Cue stick poised like a conductor's baton. I followed his gaze and saw Evan had taken off his jacket, wearing only a crisp dress shirt with sleeves rolled up to his forearms. He'd been intently leaning over the pool table, but sensing my stare, he glanced up and gifted me that soft smile that always made my breath catch. The day came quickly for my departure to Germany. Evan was supposed to accompany me, but after a week there, urgent business matters forced him to return stateside. He'd arranged everything flawlessly: premium private nurses, top-tier accommodations. The doctors estimated 2 months of intensive treatment, followed by another 2 months of rehabilitation if successful. True to his word, Evan video called daily. I tried protesting at first, saying he didn't need to check in so often. Can't be half-hearted about chasing someone. He'd countered with that infuriatingly charming grin, leaving me flustered and speechless. Most calls were brief between his meetings, stolen moments where we'd exchange soft smiles before spreadsheets reclaimed his attention. One afternoon during post-treatment rest, my phone buzzed unexpectedly. Evan's name flashed on screen. Strange it'd be 3 a.m. in New York. Everything okay? I answered. Static whispered through the line. Just as I moved to hang up, his voice rasped through rough and strained. Can't. My grip tightened on the phone. Evan? What's wrong? Another pause stretched before a choked gasp made heat flood my cheeks. I nearly dropped the device when he ground out. Drugged. At event. I shot through my veins. Should I call security? Your doctor? Already handled. His exhale shuddered. Still, God. Then. The raw need in his voice liquefied my spine. What do you need? A beat. Yeah. Let me think of you. Please. Understanding dawned. Yes. I breathed. For 2 hours, I stayed on the line, listening to his ragged breathing gradually even out, my name breaking on his lips like a prayer. When Evan returned to Germany a week later, tension crackled between us the moment he entered my hospital suite. He sat stiffly on the bed's edge, methodically peeling an apple while I pretended to read. Here. He offered the fruit. Our fingers brushed during the exchange. Suddenly I was hauled into his lap, his arms banding around me. Though the drugs should have left his system days ago, the feverish tremor in his touch felt frighteningly familiar. I don't care why you keep pushing me away. He growled against my temple, restraint vibrating through every syllable. Your legs? The treatments? None of it matters. I'll wait decades if that's what you need. His lips grazed my earlobe, a searing brand of unspoken promises before he abruptly left. The following weeks plunged me into treatment's cruelest phase. Hours spent contorted in rehabilitation machines left muscles screaming. Nights brought relentless bone-deep aches that had me writhing in sweat-drenched sheets. One particularly brutal evening, pain blurred reality. Before realizing it, I dialed Evan. The ringtone snapped me alert, but as I moved to cancel, his sleep-roughened voice answered, Ethan? Sweetheart. What's wrong? I pressed a fist to my mouth, silent tears soaking the pillow. Breathe with me, he murmured, staying connected until dawn's first light crept through the blinds. The moment I heard his voice, I choked up pathetically. Evan. Perhaps I was truly out of my mind. It was the first time I'd ever called him by his name. My dad bullied me. I didn't know why I suddenly blurted that out. But as I lay there in bed with pain tearing through my very soul, I remembered how my father had delayed my treatment after the accident last year to appease my stepmother. Maybe I wouldn't have spent this past year in a wheelchair. Maybe I wouldn't be suffering like this now. I thought about how they'd become a perfect family after Mom died. Everyone picked on me because I had no mother's love. I'll beat him up for you. Evan's gentle voice came through the phone. I'll make him pay. His kindness only made the ache worse. My life had turned gray after losing Mom, And after the accident, it plunged into utter darkness. Now Evan had reappeared in this storm cloud existence, but instead of joy, his presence only brought endless bitterness, insecurity, and confusion. Are you really? I couldn't stop myself from asking the question that had haunted me, clinging to fragile hope. Not bothered at all that I'm disabled? Of course not. Evan answered without hesitation. Ethan. I don't care how you've changed. Evan, I whispered. Connor said you've been looking for me, but 3 years ago we were strangers. Why? Just because I kissed you that time? Silence stretched before his rueful reply. Why do you think I didn't know you, Ethan? If you hadn't crashed into my plans that day, I was coming to find you anyway. Find me for what? To ask. His voice grew intimate as if pressing the receiver closer. If you'd be with me. I lay frozen, the world dissolving into white noise. Sleep now, he finally said. I'll explain everything when you wake. I didn't argue. For the first time in forever, the pain faded enough to let drowsiness claim me. Next morning, anticipation about Evan's revelation made the grueling therapy session almost bearable. When the nurse wheeled me back to my room, there he Saturday you came. I promised, didn't I? He took my hand. Time for answers. Evan settled beside me on the bed, spinning a story about his college days, how he'd secretly admired someone brilliant yet solitary. Twilight painted the walls as he confessed. I regret everything. I thought having my life perfectly arranged before confessing proved my sincerity. But when you kissed me, when I couldn't find you afterward, I realized none of those plans mattered. I stared at him, each word registering yet refusing to take root. This fairy tale confession felt surreal. During those 4 years of silent longing, I'd never dared imagine this. Even at my lowest after the accident, I'd survived on memories without hoping. Yet here he was claiming he'd loved me all along, but my voice broke. I never dreamed this could happen. Evan gently brushed his fingers over my forehead. Every word was true. So when you denied knowing me, it really hurt. I thought you'd stopped caring. Back then, I felt, how could I possibly admit it when I was such a wreck? I'm useless now. Before I could finish, his fingers tilted my chin upward. The urgent press of his lips against mine felt scorching and desperate, yet trembling with vulnerability. Ethan. His breath warmed my mouth as he pulled back slightly. I don't care. Whether you recover fully or not, it doesn't matter to me. I knew Evan never lied. Yet lying here now, these legs that refused to obey my commands made me feel like a wounded stag dragging itself across barren tundra. Pathetic and utterly worthless. When I didn't respond, Evan abruptly slid under the hospital blanket. Don't. I panicked, clutching at the sheets. You shouldn't, but he proved as stubborn as that first reunion day, leaving no room for protest. His lips grazed the jagged scars on my thighs first, then began trailing upward with excruciating tenderness, branding every inch with devotion. My grip on his arms weakened until I surrendered completely. Later, as he cradled me against his chest, his fingers combed through my hair. Ethan, this only needs to happen if you want it to. Everything depends on what you want. Evan stayed in Germany for the critical 2-week treatment period. Though the bone-deep fear and phantom pains kept me breathless, his presence made the medical purgatory bearable. When I stood unaided for 2 seconds 14 days later, my first vertical moment in 18 months, I shattered into tears against Evan's shoulder. The subsequent physical therapy proved less agonizing but demanded relentless discipline. Evan offered to video call during my daily sessions despite the 8-hour time difference and his corporate responsibilities at Wilson Group. I declined, watching Berlin's cherry blossoms flutter outside my window instead. I returned to Harbor City earlier than planned. My June homecoming got moved up when doctors approved accelerated discharge. Evan's penthouse still held none of my belongings from before. He'd insisted I reclaim them properly. The scene greeting me at my childhood home froze my blood. Liam and our father sat conversing in the living room. They barely reacted to my walking. Evan must have prepared them. But as I headed upstairs, Liam's sneer followed. Who knew trash could get so lucky? I kept climbing without turning. His furious shout echoed through the marble foyer when I didn't dignify his taunt. You think Evan is some kind of saint? That night, if his driver hadn't shown up so quickly, I'd be the one living with the Wilsons right now. My foot froze mid-step. What did you say? I'm saying I almost had him that night. So don't pretend Evan's Mr. Perfect. My fist connected with Liam's jaw before he could finish. So that's why. I'd often wondered how anyone could have slipped drugs to someone as cautious as Evan. Turns out sharing blood with Liam made him lower his guard. How could you hit your own brother? My father erupted. He'd never batted an eye when Emily and Liam tormented me, never said a word when my stepmother treated me like dirt. But one punch to his precious son and he's suddenly father of the year. Stay away from him, I warned Liam, trembling with years of pent-up devotion to Evan. Turning to my father, I hissed, and you? Don't bother yelling. Your entire business rides on Evan's goodwill. You should be more concerned about whether I'll keep playing nice. If I ever stop, I let the thread hang. Watching his face flush crimson. The Peters family fortune depended on my cooperation. Evan's penthouse was dark when I returned. I crept upstairs after brushing my teeth, slipping naked under the covers. He startled awake, hands pushing at my shoulders until recognition dawned. Evan. My lips grazed his ear as I straddled him. Want to sleep with me? His breath hitched, hips jerking involuntarily. When realization struck, those usually composed features turned adorably flustered. I whispered 3 words against his neck. He flipped us over with a growl, the spring night air cooling our feverish skin. I love you so much, I sobbed repeatedly later, finally unleashing the confession I'd bottled for years. At the design studio near Evan's corporate headquarters, my lunch breaks now involved chauffeurs and private elevators. He'd hold me through afternoon naps in his office suite's plush lounge. That mid-autumn festival, he brought me to the Wilson estate. Despite his assurances about his family's acceptance, their genuine warmth shocked me. God knows what political maneuvering it took for old money Wilsons to treat me like any proper daughter-in-law. Later, while Evan showered in our guest suite, I browsed his leather-bound books. A photograph slipped from a volume me at 20, Ponytail Askew, chewing a pencil in the library. My sophomore year design project spread across the table, completely unaware of the camera's lens or the future that awaited. That was the day I first realized I loved you. I didn't notice when Evan had walked in. He pulled me into his arms, nuzzling my hair with unbearable tenderness. In that moment, I wished with all my heart that you might feel the same way. I turned and clung to him. You never knew how my hands trembled when I sensed you sitting behind us. Evan chuckled at my confession before exhaling a shuddering breath of relief. I understood why our path had been littered with too many unspoken words and missed chances. But what's past is past. The miracle remains that we only wasted 6 years. Now we've got 60 more stretching before us to get it right.